Hey everyone's Classic DM, and this video is going to what I call reverse engineering, and it's a great way for you to learn the Pathfinder Second Edition game. And there's some cool resources I'm going to share with you, and it will help someone who's coming from another game who didn't play Pathfinder 1 to try to figure out some of the complexities of the system and how the character is actually built. And we're going to use one of the signature characters from Pathfinder. It's basically a level 1 fighter named Valeros that's used in a lot of examples with some of the Wayne Reynolds artwork here. So let's just get right into it. First of all, when you're going to start learning something in this game, you can sit there and read the book all day long, right? You sit there and read it and read it and read it, and here's a big, and it's really thick, and there's a lot of systems in here, and there's a lot of synergies and a lot of things happening. If you saw my proficiency bonus video or the Ancestry and Heritage video and background video and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of systems in here, and it's very well organized, and obviously we know you can go to the front and start looking at things, but once you start actually creating a character, even if you follow the step-by-step methods in the introductory chapter, it's very easy to get lost in some of the decisions that you should make about why you make some of these choices, which is one of the fun things about the cool game is there's so much choice for you to do. So what I did is there are a bunch of pre-generated characters, and I said, you know what, these pre-generated characters are awesome. They're made by guys and girls who've been big fans of Pathfinder 1, that played in the playtest, that know what they're doing, they know about it, they will know the game better than me. I'm not an expert at Pathfinder 2, I'm still learning. So my videos a lot of times are tailored towards people that don't already know anything. That's why I need some of you guys to chip in with some comments. So where do you get these things? So I printed them up, right? I printed these up. They're beautiful. They're level 1, level 5. This is the Amiri barbarian / character, just front and back on cardstock. Just for me, I like this kind of stuff. I think it's beautiful. So all those signature characters are available for you to use as level 1. And it also is a great way for you to learn how other players who've made choices on characters, why did they make certain choices, and am I missing out on a certain feat? Is there a particular way that my heritage is interacting with a skill? Why do I have society on this one character at +3 and society is only +1 on another character? What about the character with lots of plus intelligence skills and things like that? So those little details, when you start getting into the details like that, you're going to find that it takes a lot of time and energy to figure out and tinker with your character till you get what you want. So where do you get these things? Well, they're free. They don't cost you anything. In fact, let me just pop this up real quick and I'll show you where you can get them. So here's a PDF version of the character, right? I think I got the home to website. Yeah, this is really long-winded, right? Community use package. So they have a number of these community use packages. PF2E for Pathfinder 2 Second Edition. Iconics, plural, pre-generated characters. So that there's not a single word on a 1040 tax form that's longer than that. That's like reading, that's like, when I used to live in Germany, they used to have these signs that would say swimming pool, entrance, men only. And it would just be this one long German word that was as long as this. So it was like, Mensch, meine Schwimmenbad. It's like, what the devil? You had to break out all the nouns. So sorry I'm making a comedic joke here, but that's a long title. But if you just type in on Google, community use package : PF2E Iconics pre-generated characters, you'll come up to this, and you can just download these, add them to your My Downloads, and it has all the names of the characters. You don't have to do all of them if you don't want to. It's in one big core package. Once you actually have that downloaded, you'll have PDF versions that will look like the ones I just showed you here. So for today, what we're going to do is we're going to reverse engineer Valeros and try to decipher, by looking at all the elements that have been filled out on the character sheet here, why these choices were made, and are they something that we need to worry about, and it's a good way for you to learn. I'm trying to teach myself the game, and I want to learn how to do it really, really accurately, and there's just so much depth here, it can be very overwhelming. So let's go ahead and get started and look at some of the stuff, and I'm going to guide you through with page numbers in the rule book and show you how I find things. I'm going to reveal how I navigate the PDF with using Control F and the bookmarks bar. That's one thing that's great about having a PDF version of the game. Having a hard copy is totally awesome, because who doesn't want to have a thing? Everyone wants to have a thing, right? You got to have a cool thing. You put it on your shelf. You can play with it. You can take it with it. You can put freaking stupid tabs on it from Office Depot, whatever you need to do. Everyone loves the books. We grew up with the books, but it's also a modern electronic generation where you can do all kinds of neat things, and having a PDF version of stuff makes searching while learning super convenient. But if you don't have a computer in front of you, you can just read the book. There's nothing wrong with that. I found that the Control F function in the PDF versions is really, really useful. So we're going to get rid of these and go back to a full screen mode for the PDF version, because the rest of the conversation is going to be talking about just that. All right, so where's our character at? Valeros, from the beginning, at the top, Ancestry, human skilled. What does that mean? You see this up here? Let's get our little highlighter going again. I've had some wonkiness with the PDF flipping a lot. It has a lot of layers in the main rulebook. So human skilled. Well, we did a video about how the ancestries and stuff make a difference. So what you could do, have your core rulebook open, and if you have the be sure you use this little tab here. This is for bookmarks. This is like page views, preliminary page views. You don't need that. You want bookmarks. So you go, that is an ancestry, right? So you can just go up to the chapter by ancestries and click right on human, and you don't need to do a Control F search because there might be 600 instances of this appearing throughout the whole book. And you say to yourself, okay, well, humans, if you remember my other video, they only had a couple of things to choose from: half elf, half orc, skilled heritage, and versatile heritage. So when this person made the Valeros character, they picked skill. So what do you get with that? That's this right down here. Your ingenuity. Whoops, let's highlight this properly. Your ingenuity allows you to train a wide variety of skills. You become trained in one skill of your choice. At 5th level, you become expert. Well, this is just a level 1 version of the character. So along the way of making this character sheet, someone actually made that choice for you. So by reverse engineering this like a detective at a crime scene, you'll be able to pick up where in the book some of these things are, and you start seeing how some of the smart synergies and decisions were made will be cool and equip you with the information you need when you start trying to figure out how to make your character your way that looks the way you want them to look and do the things that you want them to do. You'll be like, hey, I remember that because when I did the Valeros thing, this is why he picked this. That's why I think I want to pick the same thing. I want to do skilled heritage as well. So that's going to basically affect a skill choice, boost it up to trained. Now remember the whole untrained, trained, expert, master, legendary. There's like a long video about that. It's on the top left-hand corner of the default character sheets. But if you look at the character sheets that this community use package PF2E iconic pre-generated characters people made, they're great. I'm not making fun of them. I just think it's a funny name. It could have just said Pathfinder 2 pre-generated characters, or even less. They use too many words, like I talk too much. So, you know, they made these decisions about making the character, and they've chosen these things, and so that's one thing you can do is to try to figure that out. Let's go to the second one, the background, Farmhand. So that's going to be obviously in the background section. So you can go to Ancestries and expand that over here, right? We already had it expanded. There's the Ancestries. Here's the backgrounds. So these backgrounds, there's only a couple pages. There's only like 4 pages on backgrounds. You don't really need to do a Control F and search through the whole document, but you'll see quite quickly that Farmhand is right here, right? Let's go ahead and highlight that for us. So why did this person pick Farmhand? Now, a lot of times people are going to think I'm coming at this from a power gaming perspective, and some parts of me are a power gaming perspective because I'm a PvP player at heart, but other parts of me have a lot of story and narrative and things like that, and I like the opportunity to create my own character like when I write a novel. So the Farmhand is the strong back understanding of seasonal cycles. You till the land and tended crops. Your farm could have been raised by invaders. You could have lost a family tying you to the land. You might simply try to drudgery, etc., etc. Choose 2 ability boost. Okay, you may remember this the other day when we went over Ancestries and Heritages. One must be Constitution or Wisdom, and one is a free ability boost. So you get 3 all together, right? And that's not right. You pick one or the other. You pick Constitution or Wisdom, and one is free. So you get 2. So you only get 2, not 3. You're trained in athletics skill and farming lore skill. Now the farming lore skill is kind of tricky, and you gain assurance feat with athletics. Like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So all these feats and skills and things that have been chosen just from this one word of Farmhand, you already can start getting kind of lost. You're like, wait a minute, what's assurance? It's not car insurance. What does that do? And isn't athletics something I already get as a fighter? Well, jump over to the fighter section and look on this first thing here. These little sidebars are absolutely awesome, totally invaluable. I refer back, they're like a laundry list. If your wife sends you to the grocery store, she either texts you the list or she hands you one of these sidebars from the Pathfinder book, right? So you can see right away under skills, you're trained in your choice of acrobatics or athletics, trained in a number of additional skills equal to 3 plus your intelligence modifier. You're like, wow, that's a lot of skill stuff. So between Farmhand, right, and just being a fighter, you can see this person's made a couple of choices that are almost double dipping in some things. You're trained in athletic skill, right? But just because you picked fighter, you're trained your choice of acrobatics or athletics, and then go back and look at the character sheet and say, okay, interesting. So this guy has a dex modifier of +2. He has acrobatics at +5. So the +2 would have been plus level 1, so he's going to be +3 out the gate on acrobatics. And then you have this additional, so you probably picked acrobatics and athletics up, and you can start trying to reverse engineering it. So you can see this train for 1 pip, 2 pips is expert, 3 pips is master. So far, nothing in this character is beyond trained, but you see the numbers vary tremendously. So as we get further and further through how this character was built, we'll see why some of these intelligence modifier ones like crafting and warfare lore and occultism all have +4, and farming lore. Remember, you got farming lore just a moment ago from that background. Let's go back to that background again. Here it is, background, Farmhand. So farming lore, okay? You're like, wait a minute, what's the deal? Why would I care about that? Is that ever going to come in handy for me? Well, you know, it's a skill, isn't it? Is it a skill or is it a feat? I can't remember. Let's double check that. Is it a feat or is it a skill? Surely it's a skill. I remember looking it up previously. Where was it? Sorry, I've got lost. I tell you what, this is a good time to do this. Farming lore. As I remember, not advanced, so you can see I was doing this earlier. I'm looking at one screen and typing on another. Farming lore. As I remember, in this chapter, there we go, there's common lore subcategories. So, you know, even I can't remember, right? I read this earlier today and tried to prepare for the video, and I still got something wrong. Nothing wrong with that. So you can learn lore your GM gives you permission to take. These are all the things, like if you ever played any GURPS or Traveler or any other types of games, they have all these skills and all these things you have knowledge about it. So if you're an adventurer and how could you apply this in an actual campaign setting? You may not understand how different types of soil grow different types of crops. You could come to some small village where a bunch of people are raising certain types of crops. They're not doing well. You can get in good with them by helping them. You may have your farming lore may be really high because you were a farmhand once. I mean, who knows? There'll be interesting story narrative elements for having that kind of information. I can't really imagine yourself saying, if the goblins run across the field and we go east-west, all the plowed lines will be going this way and they'll all trip on the dirt. Like, I don't think it's going to be that tactical. But that's one thing you can think about when you start picking up these characters. So let's go on a little bit further here. So he's neutral good. His speed's 25. You're like, wait a minute, how do you know what speed it is? Well, one of the best things, the speed and the movement speeds, they all come from the heritage, which is like race. So you go to humans, and once again, like I said, let's get rid of this. These sidebars are a godsend, right? Your speed's 25 feet. So you start saying, okay, I see what's going on here. So if I was to make an elf, my speed is going to be 30 feet. So if I was running a gnome, I'm going to be 25 feet. So when I'm building a character, we have to remember that speed, it doesn't tell you where to find it. Ancestry is right off the bat, then there's background, and then some of these other things are coming from this similar type of area in the rule book. So that's really, really useful, like the languages. You see the languages here? Let's go back to human and do it specifically with our reverse engineering. You know, common additional languages equal to your intelligence modifier. Well, I don't think Valeros has a good intelligence modifier. He has +1, so maybe he knows 3 language, common, goblin, and Kalish or Kelish. That's some inner sea type culture, right? Additional language equal to your intelligence modifier. If it's not positive, choose from the list of common languages any language in which you have access, such a language prevalent to your region. So you can start to see that some of that information, this is all kind of compiled in one area. Now let's talk about perception. You're like, oh gosh, this is something confusing. Perception, that's right. The classic DM dude said that perception was basically initiative. You could do this, okay? You could do this to get rid of the farming lore. You could type in perception, but here's a tip I want to give you. When you've got something that's related to combat or like initiative, right? We said initiative. Initiative is going to be related to combat. And you want to do a search to this massive PDF, go to the playing the game section and then begin your search. Because if you're doing a search in a PDF, you want to do it starting from where you are in the PDF. You don't want to have the search start happening from the beginning of the book and go all the way to the end. So here's it first mentioned once here. Like, okay, that's interesting. That's not what I'm looking for yet. Let's go click next and go to the next one. Ah, there we go. So here it is. So the perception. So you remember before we did a video about this, we talked about this kind of stuff. It measures how good you are and aware of your surroundings. The perception check result is a D20 roll plus your wisdom modifier, proficiency bonus, and other bonus abilities. Okay, so and on the character sheet, you got to write down a number, right? So how did this person come up with 5, an expert? You're like, okay, so the wisdom modifier, does he have a wisdom modifier? No. So somehow he's getting from 0 all the way up to 5 by some other means, and it says expert in brackets. That's very useful. So this is one thing about these character sheets that are really useful. They've put things in brackets and caveat things and copy and paste directly from the rule book. So you'll start seeing information like shield actions and stuff over here where Ray Shield is just verbose spelled out for you. Instead of just saying, yeah, you have Ray Shield, and you haven't supposed to know what it is, it actually tells you what it is in itself. Let me just let me lock this down real quick. So how do we get +5 expert in perception? Let's go back and check and see if that's something about being a fighter. Our wisdom only gave us +1, right? No, it has nothing in wisdom. So that's going to be, we have no wisdom modifier at all on this Valeros guy's. Wisdom is low. He's level 1, so that gives us 1. So where's the other 4 coming from? Now let's think about the class. Let's go down to the fighter. There we go. Go to our sidebar again, right? Perception, perception, skills, trained, attacks, expert, expert. Oh, expert in perception. There it is right there. Let's just unhighlight. There it is right here. Oh, I should have unhighlighted this earlier. Now it's going to be stuck here forever. Let's just get rid of that. There we go. Cool. All right. So he's expert in perception. So if you remember before, untrained, 0. Trained, +2. Expert, +4. All right, cool. Now you've figured out who's the murderer in the crime scene. So this guy's wisdom isn't high enough to give him any major bonuses, which is to be expected for a fighter type character. But he's getting +4 to his perception because he's expert and he's level 1. So that's why you get 5. So it's not +5 because he's expert. It's +5 because he's level 1. So when he gets to level 2, it'll be +6, and it'll go up and up and up from there. Now, there may be feats and things like that he can take along the way that will boost him even further, but you can start to see like, okay, great. And this is a good way to learn where these numbers come from. And I'm kind of running through this stream of consciousness kind of vibe to kind of show you like how I figure it out. And using the PDF to jump around really quickly is a good way to kind of see how these things interact, because you're going to be doing this a lot. You're going to look at the class pages. You're going to be flipping through this. You're going to be looking at the sidebar over here, right? You're going to want to do a search for something. Let me give you an example, right? Let's do a quick example. There's something that's going to come up in a few minutes that's going to be like bizarre. Advanced weapons. Did I spell it correctly? Advanced weapons. You're like, okay, what's up with that? Trained in advanced weapons. Think, when we get down to the sword and the longsword in a minute, you'll be like, that's interesting. I wonder what advanced weapons are. You've played D&D for a long time. You know what simple weapons and martial weapons are. Expert in unarmed attacks. That's awesome. You can do a Conor McGregor left hand. But what is advanced weapons? You start thinking, was that a ballista? Is that a catapult? What's that all about? Then you go a little further and go, oh, okay. There's a weapon legend level 13th feat that you can get for advanced weapons, increases to expert. Oh, that's cool. Where else is it in the rest of the book? And that's where you can start seeing, oh, at 6th level you get advanced weapon training. You study the art of wielding an advanced weapon. Choose a weapon group. You gain proficiency with all advanced weapons in that group as if they were martial weapons from the group. Like, oh, wow. So at 6th level, and you start thinking to yourself, I wonder if I can get jumped up to legendary ultimately. And you probably can if you build yourself the right way, but you still get the choices to pick what you want to do. In fact, let's do this specific example by looking at this guy's longsword +9 versatile type bullshit going on here. Pardon my language. So when you start seeing things like that in the character sheet, you need to kind of go cross-reference where it is. So for example, let's go look at the weapons real quick. You'll see, like I said a moment ago, that there are, we'll just close this down, we've got simple weapons, right, which is over here, table 671, uncommon simple weapons, which means like weird stuff culturally located in the game world, like katars and clan daggers, or Quake clan daggers, whatever. Martial weapons, we all know what they are. And then you see uncommon martial weapons, and then you see uncommon advanced weapons. Now, there is no chart that says advanced weapons, but all the references for the class talk about, hey, man, you're a fighter, this is amazing, you're going to be trained in a number, trained in advanced weapons. So that means if I have the opportunity to find a weapon in the game that's a dwarven war axe or a gnome flick mace, whatever the devil that is, it's probably like a lighter orc neck splitter, that sounds nasty, or a sawtooth saber, that sounds nasty. That sounds like something you see in a Bones miniature, right? I would actually already be pretty decently able to use it. I'd be trained. So my proficiency bonus would start off with this +2 number, plus my level and all the other kind of stuff. So that is interesting to see. But let's look at this specific example in Valeros. He's longsword +9. That's +9 to hit, not damage, right? His damage is for the weapon. It's 1d8 +4. Okay, some of the numbers are different. Some of the numbers aren't the same as they were in the old days. But how does this guy getting +9 to hit? Well, we all know from the old days that strength is always going to give us a bonus to hit and a bonus to damage. So we see there's +4 right off the bat from that. And we know that because he's level 1, that's going to give us +5. But where's the other 4 coming from? Well, that's one thing I recommend you do is go ahead and start looking at the fighter right off the bat. So martial weapons, simple weapons, expert. So remember, expert, untrained is 0, trained is 2, expert is 4. It's like, oh, okay, I'm seeing what's going on. What kind of weapon did he pick? He picked a longsword, right? So a martial weapon, this left side is the martial weapons, and it carries over here, and right up here, here you go, the classic longsword. If you were an elf in AD&D, that was a weapon to use, right? Come on, highlighting mouse, darn thing. Only costs 1 gold piece to get one when you start. You start with 150 gold, if I remember. No, 15 gold. 1d8s, which means slashing. You'll see these numbers like S, P, and B. Slashing, piercing, and bludgeoning. That's typical damage resistance types used in almost every RPG in the world, except for AD&D, which is just the ancient grandfather. You'll see this number 1 here, which is referring to the bulkiness of the weapon, if you're going to keep track of bulk in your game. You also see that's considered a sword. Yeah. And then lastly, versatile. So, well, it's this versatile P. And now you're like, wait a minute. Okay, so I was looking at Valeros. I figured out the +4 for strength to hit, +1 for the level 1, so that's +5. And he was an expert at a martial weapon. That gives me the total bonus of the +9 that we're talking about, right? And it is 1d8 +4 slashing, or a versatile P. So then you want to go back and look at the weapon. You go, okay, so what does that actually mean? Well, if you go the next page or two over, you'll see that there's a description for this. In fact, let's do it this way. Okay, the next page over talks about weapon traits. And say you don't know where to look. You're like, oh my goodness, let's just do another Control F. It'll remember the last thing you searched for, and you're already in the right chapter. You're already pretty close. So you can just type in versatile. Now, it's probably going to bring up every time the word versatile appears in this chart, but I don't think it's going to happen that much, so we're going to gamble, right? There's one. That's one we just looked at. There's another one, another one, another one. So we're going through the chart. Okay, 1, 2, 3, we're more than halfway down the page. That's not bad. Boom, here we go. Oh, here we go. Very last entry. So it's a weapon trait. Now, if you didn't want to do it that way, you could have done it this way. This vertical column here, the far right column, is weapon traits. Every weapon has a trait on it, right? Like fatal, D10, or shove, or disarm, reach, or agile, finesse, shove, reach. It's almost like when you're using a certain type of weapon, you could do cooler, interesting, more neat things with it, right? For example, a staff. Look at the staff. It's just a simple weapon, 1d4 bludgeoning damage, kunking someone in the head. It's in the clubbing group. If you use it two-handed, you can do d8 damage. That's not bad. So you baseball swing the crap out of someone in the head and knock their head off. I love it. I think that's better than a pool noodle, don't you think? So those things are really, really cool. I love this. So as a tactical wargaming kind of hardcore killing machine PvP guy like I am, I like the fact that I'll be able to use a weapon. It's not just a chump crap weapon with chump damage type because I'm a caster and I'm screwed. I'm throwing darts in the back that do 1 to 2 damage. You know, you could use a staff and be proficient using a staff and walk up in melee combat and just do an overhand two-handed swing and knock somebody out, right? I love it. So all these things are called weapon traits, and the following page after this chart is where all the weapon traits are. And guess what? They're in alphabetical order. So the very first one is agile. And it's not as bold of font. It's kind of hard to find with the hierarchy. It's not as big. And I know looking on the video here, it looks kind of small. So there's agile, and then there's attached. And you start going through the thing, and you say backstabber, backswing, dwarf, finesse, forceful. So guess what you're going to do? You're going to need to read these things. Because you'll be like, wait a minute. You're telling me that if I use a weapon with reach on it, or it has a parry trait, I can use this to defensively block? Hey, that's pretty cool, because one of the actions you can do is raise shield if you're a fighter. Can I do it with raise shield? Go investigate that idea and find out. I don't believe you can, but investigate those type of ideas. So finally, let's go back to versatile. So versatile, basically, as you would expect from a longsword, it means you can use it to deal damage to different types. So for a longsword entry, remember it said it does slashing damage by default, but it's versatile and can also do P, which means piercing damage. So you can thrust and stab the devil out of someone. Just imagine Elric, a melonbone, jamming the blade through the guy's heart. So you can do that, or you can Conan the Barbarian, just swing wildly and hit everyone on the screen, right? So because of that weapon, that's why on Valeros, his weapon is this versatile weapon, 1d8 or slashing. So he has the ability to do slashing or piercing damage, and enemies in the game, in the bestiary, they're going to have, they're going to have damage resistances. If you've been reading through the book, you'll notice how there's a lot of situations where it says, wait till you total up all the numbers and then apply it to the damage resistance, because damage resistance can be kind of nasty and nullify a lot of things. I would not want to have to fight something where I can never break through their damage resistances. So if you start doing that type of reverse engineering, you'll learn things about weapons along the way just by trying to figure out what this one silly little level 1 iconic character from the, let's see if we get it right again, the community use package. I got to say it's ridiculous or whatever. The free character sheets that are pre-generated, right? So then we go down to the next one here, Shield Boss, right? +9. Hey, that's cool. Shield Boss. That sounds like something from Warhammer. I could just imagine the orc boys in the back of a truck jumping off and, you know, you stupid, and jumps off the truck and starts milling the crap out of people, right? Shield Boss is coming. Huge, massive tower shield, but no, this is Pathfinder 2. It's not like that at all. A Shield Boss is actually a historical attachment used on a shield. The Roman Empire used it. If you ever played Hail Caesar or any really hardcore war games, or you like anything about the Roman Empire, or even played Total War series, whatever, you might notice that a lot of Roman shields called tower shields have a large half circle, half spherical, bulbous thing in the middle. Well, it hurts when you get hit in the face with it. Interestingly enough, the artwork done for Valeros, he never has one on him. So obviously someone that knows a little bit about historical warfare has made sure to include a shield boss on here. So if you can type on the internet like, well, shield boss, and you'll see the Wikipedia article right off the bat. So let's go back and find out about that. Now, why does someone have a shield boss? You know, most role-playing games, they don't have this kind of detail. But here it is. It's considered a martial weapon, so it's attached to the shield. But it doesn't really tell you a lot more than that, right? But if you go a little further here to the next section, you'll realize that there is a whole series of descriptions, right? You're like, okay, is there a shield boss description here somewhere? No, because these are all shield boss. Here we go. It is a description. So here it is. Very generic description. Typically a round, convex, or conical, and that means it could be a spike. You imagine like a large spike, piece of thick metal as opposed to thin. Attached to the center of the shield, a shield boss increases the bludgeoning damage of a shield bash. That's nice, because if you're a fighter, right? Let's go back to the fighter again. What kind of abilities do we get? We can be trained in advance. We don't really want to do that. Expert martial, expert and simple. That's fantastic. And as we read through here and start seeing what our features are for our class, we'll start seeing that we can do things like this, like shield block. And you go, oh, wow, that's cool. You gain shield block general feat found on page 266. A reaction that lets you reduce damage with your shield. Like, oh, okay. Let's go see page 266. Now, you can't see it because I got the top part of my PDF blocked out, but you can type in the page number on the PDF and just go right to it. Boom. So there's 266. And you're like, oh, okay. So where's shield block? Oh, look, it's a reaction. Now, if you start to get your handle on the system here, you start realizing, oh, this is cool. So if I pick this up, now this is a feat, right? This is something you're going to pay for. It's like an ability you're going to have to pick up. It's only a level 1 feat. So by having a shield, equipping any kind of shield, I get a reaction I can use if I choose this and pay for it. There's other level 1 feats like sign language and skill training and junk like that I could have taken, or, you know, streetwise and steady balance and everything. While you have your shield raised, which is action you have to do. You have 3 actions in the action economy. You have to say, I'm raising my shield. You don't like automatically just pull the shield out and start defending every time you attack. It's not free armor class numbers. You snap your shield in place to ward off a blow. Your shield prevents you from taking an amount of damage up to the shield's hardness. You're like, oh, what's that all about? Notice how it's capitalized. You and the shield each take any remaining damage, possibly breaking or destroying the shield. Well, we've all seen those crappy wooden shields being blown apart in the Vikings. Well, that's pretty much the idea here, right? So take a moment and then go, all right, so what's up with shields? Well, guess what? Right down here is a whole section on shields. You go right down here to the bottom. You see there's obviously a buckler, a wooden shield, a steel shield, a tower shield. There's a price, AC bonus. So what did the Valeros character get? Well, he has a shield boss attack. That's his melee attack. Where's his equipment? Well, here's the weapon here: longsword, short bow, wooden shield with shield boss, hardness 3, hit points 12, BT 6. This is where you're learning about this. So he's got a wooden shield, right? The AC bonus is only 2. Later on, we'll see how his armor class is calculated down here. Where's the armor class number? With his armor class and with his shield raise, he's gaining 2 extra. This is the bottom left here. He's got a base armor class of 18, but if he uses an action to raise his shield, he's going to get that extra 2. He could have bought a better shield and got more than that. He could have got a tower shield and got a lot more, but there's some caveats to that. There's no speed penalty. It's not very bulky. Obviously, a tower shield is hugely bulky. And it has a hardness number. You're like, what's that? Well, we all know what AC bonus is. That's described right here. And then you go to hardness. This is very, very tricky. I bet a lot of people will forget to do this. This is very wargamer-ish, right? Whenever a shield takes damage, the amount of damage it takes is reduced by this amount. The number is partially relevant for shields because the shield block feat, page 266. The rules for hardness appears on page 272. Right? So we're already on page 276. So we'll just flip back 2 pages here. So item damage. Oh, now you start to see what's going to happen here. So we have bulk, bulk, estimate item bulk, bulk values, bulk limits, dragging, wielding items, item damage. So you start reading through his, and you start seeing that things have every item has a hardness value. Each time an item takes damage, reduce any damage the item takes by its hardness. Let's get rid of that. Let's just start to say, we'll highlight this whole section here. There you go. So your shield's going to be taking damage, and it will actually possibly collapse and break on you, according to this description here. If it takes too much damage, your shield's going to disintegrate. Now, you're in the middle of a dungeon, you have a huge massive melee, you're a frontline fighter, you're not going to have a shield alive very long. Maybe you want to get a shield that has more hardness than some of the ones that are given here. So you can see the hardness numbers on this lower right-hand column is hit points are BT. Now, what is BT? Well, hit points are BT. It's broken threshold. So this is one thing about this rulebook I love. If you just spend a moment and just kind of poke around and start reading. We just started off doing one thing, right? We learned what a shield boss was, we researched it, we saw the damage, and as we were doing that, by just looking in the weapons section and then looking in the shield section, we're learning about all these cool new things in the game that we have to take in consideration. Your choice about your shield and the hit points it has before it crumples into dust is very, very important. So it's not like, yeah, I got this one crappy wooden shield. I've had it for 43 years like a Fender Stratocaster deck. I mean, it's not going to be like that anymore. That's a little bit more hardcore. I mean, there's not a single MMO I've ever played that has that kind of, you have weapons that would repair like a Dark Age of Camelot, but I actually love this. I think some people are going to have a tough time with this. I really love it. I just love how hardcore that is. I like the fact that if I'm keeping track of this kind of stuff, I might actually have my shield get destroyed. So what does that mean for a player? Well, does that mean you're going to go raising your shields all the time? You may not want to raise your shield till you really, really want to use it. Whereas you're playing AD&D, a lot of my audience is AD&D players, you just had plate mail and shield, you're at AC2, and it was like, cool, you get the free, just obviously during the course of a full minute melee round, you raised your shield and deflected some crap. So now with this 3-action economy, you got to make a conscious, prompted player choice. Well, I'm a huge advocate for this, about whether it's tactically smart or necessary to raise your shield. And having this shield block reaction can cause your shield to take damage as you use it to prevent damage to yourself, and some monsters have exceptional abilities that can damage your items. So, whoa. So you can imagine, this is not just to be plowing into the front lines and being a dork and getting blown up. You probably will get blown up. There's a lot of tactical elements to the game, which really has me excited about this. Okay, I'm getting off on a tangent. Sorry about that. So let's get back down here where we were. So we talked about the shield boss. We got the shield. We understand how that works. We see that over here what the hardest value is, the hit points. The BT6, what did that mean? Did we see the BT? It meant like a breaking threshold, right? Let's go back to that section here. It's on shields. Attacking with a shield. This column lists the shield's hit points and broken threshold. So, on the wooden shield in Valeros, it's 12 and 6. So, what does that... That means, okay, the broken threshold is lower than the hit points. That sounds like if it takes this much damage, it's not going to be very effective anymore. Does that mean when someone comes up with a two-handed weapon and nails the crap out of this crappy wooden shield, that it immediately breaks if it takes 12 points of damage? Well, there's probably particular rules about that. About item damage, it may be a little different. We're going to have to figure that. I'm going to have to figure that out. I don't know it yet, but I'm intrigued and excited about trying to find out. So, this measure how much damage the shield can take before it's destroyed, its total hit points, and how much it can take before being broken and unusable is BT. So, the BT number, 6, is it becomes unusable. Destroyed is the hit point number 12. So after taking half of its damage, it becomes unusable. So you're like, oh my goodness, that's really nutty. How am I going to survive with a shield? Maybe I should have bought a better shield. Well, maybe when you're level 1, you're going to think about that. So that's when you want to spend some time reading this small, very concise, well-written paragraph that talks about how the system works. And you might want to look at thinking about that. For example, let's go to this right here, right? An item that takes damage can become broken, eventually destroyed. We just said that. It becomes broken when its hit points are equal to or lower than its broken threshold. Once the hit points are reduced to 0, it's destroyed. A broken item has no condition until repaired above its broken threshold. Oh, maybe you can repair it. Maybe that's something you do during downtime. Exploration is just walking around, not in fights, right? There's a really great Twitch streams the guys did about a week or so before, like 6 days before the game came out, and Jason did a really fantastic job of describing some of these kinds of details, right? I really like it. Really love what each guy on the design team, very smart, and did a really good job with this stuff. So the whole idea of the exploration mode and the downtime mode is really cool. At first I was confused. I thought it was like in a massive multiplayer game. I was no idea. Now I can see things like, well, you're adventuring, you actually have some downtime, you may want to go get a new shield or repair it before it's gotten totally destroyed. That adds a lot of depth to the game. A tremendous amount of depth. I mean, you could like live in D&D, dude. You could like live in Pathfinder. It's like you could like have an adventure where This is a Traveler. If you've never played Classic Traveler, you're refueling, you're skimming planets with your free trader Beowulf, you're going to getting an exit visa, you're doing trade, you're building starships, you're getting new computer systems, you're reloading sandcasters, and I'm so happy to see this kind of stuff from when I was a kid in 1978 and 13 years old coming into this, basically the spirit of D&D through Pathfinder Second Edition. This is awesome. Okay, I'm getting off into wild evangelistic mode. Let's go back to Valeros, right? So he has a short bow. I'm just going to skip the short bow, right? You can obviously look up the short bow and see the weapon. One thing I want you to remember, though, is this. You're like, yeah, the weapon, cool, strength damage. Nope. Remember, we talked about this the other day. Go to the playing the game section, right? And let's do a search for ranged. I know it's a big word. It's probably going to appear everywhere. Not versatile, ranged. See, I'm looking at one monitor while I'm typing on another. Ranged. This will help you refine your search to just this chapter. The play in the game chapter 9 to me is the combat chapter. Okay, this is where you play the game. It talks about all the checks and things like that you got to do. So it talks about attack rolls. Bingo. Ranged attack rolls, D20 plus dexterity modifier, proficiency bonus, and other penalties. Not strength, right? So our dexterity bonus for him is 2. So the short bow, notice how it's only +7. Now you can see how it's working, right? So even though he has a bow, it's here, it's on his back, even though I don't know what's holding the bow to his back. Maybe it's super glue. If it's not funny, it's not worth doing, right? It has to be funny. So he's got the super glue bow attached to his back. The string's not over his chest or anything. +7 plus 1d10 range increments of 60 feet. Wow, that's pretty far. 60 feet is pretty far. If you're a football player, how far is that? It's 20 yards. 20 yards is pretty far. You can't. It's longer than a first down in a football game, right? From the top of from the free throw line to the edge of the rim is 15 feet, right? So you're talking about a basketball court's like 30 feet from one end of the court to the half court line. 60 feet. I think it's almost like the full length of a basketball court. You can shoot a short bow, not a long bow, not a composite bow. It's deadly. The range increments at 60. Wow, that's really long. It's hard for me. If you played some old games like Boot Hill or Traveler, some of the range on Wage Weapon, it just tapers off really, really quickly. You'd have to really kind of lift the bow and arch it up. I've done archery and black powder shooting before. So, but anyway, back on target here. The short bow is only +7. That's because it's only using his dex modifier. There's nothing about his character that has anything to give him additional to hit bonus. The damage has nothing to do with that at all. All right, let's go down here to let's skip the skills because it's very, very confusing, and we'll do it last, right? I'll do the confusing stuff last. Let's go to the Ancestry abilities, class feats, general feats, skill feats, class features. Pretty obvious, right? There's good keywords there. Ancestry ability, natural ambition, reactive shield. All right, so why did the person pick that, and how did they pick it? Well, remember, we go up here to Ancestries, and let's go to human, right? And what's it called again? He's picked natural ambition, reactive shield. You're like, okay, so let's see here. Where is that at? Where is that at? Where is natural ambition? Where is that? All right, let's get rid of this here quick. It is a ancestry ability. So it's something to relate to ancestry and the ability. Let's see. Languages, ability boost, 2 free ability boosts, hit points, traits, human, playing this, playing that, skilled heritage, human ancestry feats. And one more time, what's it called again? Natural ambition, reactive shield. Natural ambition. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Natural ambition. Oh, it's a feat. Okay. So this is listed as ancestry ability. It's really a okay. Well, it's in feats and abilities section. Okay. Well, it's not. It's really a feat. So here's what it says, right? For humans, level 1. You're raised to be ambitious and always reach for the stars. Oh, he'll be traveling far. Leading you to progress quickly in your chosen field. You gain a first level class feat for your class. You must meet the prerequisites, but you can select the feat later in the character creation process in order to determine which prerequisites you meet. So it's kind of like having a free human ancestry feat. This has nothing to do with your class. You could be a sorcerer and be a human sorcerer and have this. So it looks like what that person has chosen then, by using natural ambition, is a chosen reactive shield. So where is reactive shield? Is that in the feat chapter? This is where you want to do this kind of investigating, because this is pulling from a part of the game that's going to be where all the feats are. So has the person chosen a reactive shield feat from this part? We're in the right area here. Let's do a search. Let's type in the word reactive. We still have the word ranged in there. I keep forgetting that. Reactive. Oh no, 642 pages to have to search, so that's not good. We don't want to do that. So let's see, how can we figure this out? Natural ambition, reactive shield. It was an ancestry ability. Is it in here? This is all crafting, arcana. There's reactive, alchemical. That's something else. I hate to do it. Reactive shield. Let's use the word combination. See if we can figure out where this came from. My video recording computer is not cool. I have a badass gaming rig in another room. Oh, come on. It's going to take forever. Okay, while that's searching in the background, we're going to do something else. Let's see if we can click away and come back. It's still searching, still searching. So I don't know where that comes from. Reactive shield, class feats, double slice, reactive shield. Oh, okay. Well, let's see here. This is taken twice. Is that a class feat? So let's go up to the class itself, to the fighter, and let's see, was it something that's in the fighter section that we didn't pick up on because I haven't built a fighter yet. We're still trying to learn how this works, right? So where in here is this reactive shield? Let's get rid of the search. We're not going to do that. Is it a feat double slice, power attack? There it is. So it's a feat from the fighter class. Okay, so how did that work? Ancestry ability, natural ambition, and then it says reactive shield. Class feats, double slice, and reactive shield. So in the class feat section, when someone built Valeros, James, or whoever built it, I don't remember, they chose reactive shield, right, which is this one right here, where you snap your shield into place as you would take a blow. We read that earlier, right? It's kind of like it's a reaction, so if something happens, you can like pull it up real quick and defend yourself. And they also chose what, double slice or something like that? I personally like that snagging strike. And they have natural ambition, so I think the natural ambition part is where they got the extra free feat from, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the way I'm reading it. Ancestry, humans, right? We are picking this natural ambition. So it says, your race be ambitious. You gain a first level class feat for your class. Well, that's the keyword right there. We should just go right to class. Okay, so class feats, level 1. So it's the free feat. So he took reactive shield and he took double slice. So otherwise, if he had not had that, he wouldn't have gotten 2 of them. So this person has used the Ancestry ability, Natural Ambition. Now, if they picked something else, let's go back to the Ancestry for the human again. If they had not picked that, and they had picked Haughty Obstinacy, or however you pronounce that, right? Let's see what they would have done if they'd done that. I know some characters that have Haughty Obstinacy. I'm probably pronouncing that word wrong, right? Your powerful ego makes it harder for others to order you around. That sounds like me. If you roll a success on a saving throw against a mental effect that attempts to directly control your actions, like Charm Person, you critically succeed instead. Oh, a mental effect that attempts to directly control your action, goodbye Mind Flare, you critically succeed instead if a creature rolls a failure on a check to coerce you using intimidation. Now, I can see that happening. It gets a critical failure instead, so that's really nasty. Is that really true? That sounds really powerful. If we roll a success on a saving throw against a mental effect that attempts to directly control your actions. Okay, well, Charm Person doesn't directly control your actions, so you would need to know your spells there. But that's very interesting. So if we go back to Valeros again, you can see as I've just tried to figure this out, that they chose Natural Ambition to get an extra feat from their class, and they picked up one that's going to help them in combat, so their shield will get destroyed even faster. Even though it doesn't have a shield boss in front of it, just has a big cool diagram of a, what is that, a sniper rifle reticule? So that's really cool. General feats, shield block. That sounds like class stuff. Let's go back to the class, right? Shield block, where is that? There we go, shield block. You gain a shield block general feat found on page 266. Remember, on a PDF, you can always highlight the page number where it says like page, we're on page 143. It'll say page 143 of 642. You can just type in 266 and hit enter. It'll jump right to the page. That's something you can't do with a regular book. You have to flip and flip and flip. All right, so what were we looking up before we started rambling about a bunch of junk? So general feat, shield block. Oh, that's right. It's going to talk about shield block more. So where is that in here? Shield block. Here we go. Feat, level 1 feat. While you have your shield raised, which I believe is an action you have to call out and say and spend 1 action point to do. That means while you're doing that, not action point, but an action, you snap your shield in place to ward off a blow. Your shield prevents you from taking amount of damage up to the shield's hardness. You and the shield each take any remaining damage, possibly breaking or destroying the shield. Oh, this is interesting. So as you can see, this person's put this character together, and they're using synergies in a very intelligent way. I can almost see the Diablo build already for this class, right? So reactive shield and using a wooden shield and having this shield block ability and having this work with snapping in place to ward off a blow. This is the second time we've seen this. So the reactive shield and shield block, that sounds like someone who's going to be able to make their shield perhaps even last longer. Let's read this really carefully, okay? You snap your shield in place to ward off a blow. Your shield prevents you from taking an amount of damage up to the shield's hardness. All right? So I don't take, say someone hits me for 6 hit points, right? And I say it was 5. I think the no longer usable number for that wooden shield was 6, and I think it would be destroyed at 12, right? It's BT number, whatever the devil it was, breaking threshold or something. So it sounds like if someone hits me for 4 damage, I completely deflect the blow. I block the blow. You and the shield each take any remaining damage. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So let's say the shield has this value of 6. In fact, let's go back down to the shields again. And you hit me for 12. 6 of the hit points damage goes to me. 6 goes to the actual shield. That's skills. We don't want that. We want equipment and weapons and shields. 6 of the damage goes to me. And 6 of the damage goes to shield. But then it reaches the BT threshold and it becomes no longer how much damage shield can take before it's destroyed. So that's the one part about when I'm reverse engineering Valeros here. I'm like, wow, man, these are really great abilities, but in your first major combat encounters, your shield just going to get shattered into a million pieces. Now, if I read that feat carefully, right, it sounds like the intent is, and I may be misunderstanding it, is that it's the only if it does more damage than the shield's threshold will you have a, let's do another search for that again, find it again. Shield block, that is class. Let's go back to fighter. There he is. 266. This is why I love PDFs. Okay. Your shield prevents you from taking an amount of damage up to the shield's hardness. You and the shield each take any remaining damage. Well, let's say there is no remaining damage, possibly breaking or destroying the shield. Okay, so it sounds like that type of shield, the wooden shield, as long as it doesn't take more than 6 damage, in this type of situation, you actually deflect that damage. It's almost like a damage mitigator. It sounds to me like if someone tries to hit you for 5 damage and you have this reaction of shield block, you don't take any damage. Well, that makes sense because you like deflected the blow. So I'm hoping that's how it works. Maybe some of you hardcore playtest guys that really know the rules a lot better than me can confirm my long drawn out detective work on that one. So this is one thing I encourage you to do by getting your hands on the, let's say it again, community use package PF2E iconic pre-generated characters. I'll put a link in the description. By looking at these other characters and how they've been built, you can start to see things that are like, oh, this is very interesting. This is a really cool build for this character. But then you'll realize what parts of the game you don't understand. Like if you just watch me do that, you realize I'm not real sure about whether that shield's going to get broken. Like say if I take a shield in the front yard and I hit it with a machete, right? And I put a big chunk in the shield, and then I hit it with a machete again. If I hit it enough times, it's going to break. The damage on a piece of wood is cumulative. Okay, but in the game, does this mean that like I have this ability, I have this feat, I'm good at using a shield, I can deflect up to what would have been 6 points of damage, but does the shield take no damage? The shield seems to only take damage once the threshold's been reached. If I'm not mistaken, that's how I would interpret the rule at my table. Now, I'm not good enough yet to know how to make those kind of calls, but I'd love to hear what someone else has to say. Please leave me a comment if you made it this far, because I think we're almost at the 47-minute mark. Assurance, skill feats, assurance, athletics. So the skill system is really broken down. I think there's like 17 major categories. This is it here, table 4.1. It's on page 234. Acrobatics, arcana, athletics, crafting, blah, 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 blah. And then there's ones inside of it. Let's just get the fine bar out of the way so you can see that better. So this person has taken assurance, which is athletics. Now, if you remember earlier, this is where athletics is. There are skills in here. This is the skill section that deal with, it's broken down with these headers. Like this is Arcana, which is intelligence. So what you need to do, it's kind of tricky because they're all like in sequential order. So Arcana is intelligence, and then further on in the book, it lists everything related to Arcana and intelligence. So that means that this page, and then this next page, you see one's athletic strength. So when we were talking about Valeros, he has assurance, which is athletics, right? That starts here. Athletics, strength, untrained actions, climb, force open, grapple, high jump, long jump, shove. These are all one action costs, these little pips. Remember, some of them are 2 actions to do a long jump or like jumping over a 15-foot or 10-foot pit or whatever, swimming, being tripped, disarming someone. Hey, that's pretty nice if you get trained. You see that we can go over here and look at athletics, and it is called assurance, not car insurance, assurance. So what does assurance do? High jump, long jump, shove, swim. Athletic, trained action, disarm, crafting. Oh, that's different. So where is assurance? I don't see it. Am I missing something? Where is it? Is it under the class? Is it in here? Let's see, where is it? Double slice? Nope, those are feats. Let's get rid of that while we're in here. All right, let's go back here to skills. One more time, make sure we find this properly. So this was, it says it is athletics. It's called assurance. Now I remember earlier seeing assurance being listed on the character sheet. Let's see what it says here. Did it say this about the class? Train, train, train. Was it related to the ancestry? Classes, alchemist. Let's go up to the ancestry, the human. This is the languages, 2 free ability boosts, traits, human, humanoid. This person was skilled heritage, versatile heritage, okay. Where is that assurance athletics coming from? So one other thing you can do when you're like, when you've lost it, is go to the back to the appendix and go past the conditions appendix and do a search for, look through the glossary. Let's see if assurance shows up in here. There's AL, AI, Arcana, Armor Class, Attack, Assurance. Assurance is not listed. That's unfortunate. So now we're kind of stuck. So now we're like, I'm trying to figure out this stuff. Where is Assurance? How could I possibly have missed this? Their last resort is to do a search, right? Athletics, Strength, Climb. It starts off with C. That's not, it's all in alphabetical order. C, F, G, H. So is it something that's trained as disarmed? Where is assurance? So how can I find out where that is? We're going to have to do a search. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump back to the fighter, and I'm going to start searching there. No, it's nothing to do with the Geico guy. Potato, potato. General skill feats assurance. Okay, there it is, chapter 5. It's a feat. Now why did I think it was a skill? Is the fact that it listed athletics, which I know is a skill. Oh, I see. It's a skill feat. See, you can see how this is getting confusing for someone like me who only barely remembers the 3.5 days. Okay, I see. Thank God for searching. It took me like 6 seconds to find it. Okay, so assurance, level 1, trained in at least 1 skill, receive a fixed result on a skill check. Oh, that's interesting. Where's the actual description? Here it is. Here it is. It's level 1 feat. Okay, good. Even in the worst circumstances, you can perform basic tasks. Choose a skill you're trained in. You can forego rolling a skill check. That skill, instead of receiving a result of 10 to your plus your proficiency bonus, do not apply to other bonus penalties and modifiers. So it sounds kind of like something that would come in handy when you're trying to do something that you're absolutely not. Choose a skill you're trained in. You can, even in the worst circumstances, you can perform a basic task. Choose a skill you're trained in, forego rolling a skill check, and that skill instead receive a result of 10 plus your proficiency bonus. That's pretty interesting. If it was something where rolling would be kind of risky for you, it sounds like that would work a lot better. So you can select this feat multiple times. Each time choose a different skill and gain the benefits of that skill. So 10 plus your proficiency bonus. Now when you get higher and higher, no other bonuses, higher and higher, that proficiency bonus number is going to get big because remember it includes your level. All right, sorry to get bogged down on that, but see, that's the kind of reverse engineering exercise you have to do. So by doing this, I learned that when someone says, hey, you've got skill feats, right? It doesn't mean it's a skill. It means it's a feat. General skill feats, all right? It's different than general feats, which is different than skills. So skills are things like headings. They're kind of normal looking actions like recalling knowledge or command an animal or hide and sneak, conceal an object, climb. Like people, normal people can do this kind of stuff. The feat things are much more dramatic. They're almost like perks. If you could think of that kind of like recognize a spell or incredible initiative, they kind of remind me of some of the things you could, the feats you could get in 3.0 and 3.5. So, okay, great. So someone chose that one. That's pretty interesting. When the person chose this, they probably want to be able to do things at level 1. They want to get a chance to actually do it. And obviously this class has Attack of Opportunity. This has been around forever. Attack of Opportunity, in my opinion, has been changed a little bit. It's not the same that it used to be. It's described here at the fighter section. So here's what it is, all right? Let's just highlight this, and we'll highlight the second section up here as well. If you've played D&D before, you know what it is. You can just gloss over this part. So if anyone comes within your range while you're engaged in melee combat, or someone's next to you trying to do something like cast a spell or pull a scroll out or try to chug a potion or switch weapons or put a shield on their back or knock an arrow on their bow, it provokes what's called Attack of Opportunity. It's like, hey, you're not actively defending. I get a free swing at you. So you can do that when it's not your turn. So a creature within your reach means they got to be close enough for you to hit them. Either jack them with your left power hand or hit them with your sword or whatever. And remember, your reach is going to change based on what kind of weapon you're using. That uses a manipulate action or a move action. So if they're trying to run past you, okay, it's like, here's an example. A druid is in the back trying to stabilize Doggo, lying on the ground, who's near death. So the druid's trying to use her stabilize skill to keep this thing from dying, her pet wolf or something like that, right? Her pet Rottweiler. And you are 2 or 3 squares in front of the druid, and this fool hobgoblin comes whipping past you with his glaive in his hand, or this ogre magi or whatever, thinking he's going to go there and one-shot the druid who's only got 15 health left while she's trying to save her animal companion. I could just see the situation now. And you're the fighter and you're the front row, and just because you're a fighter and you're fighting someone else and this person comes past you, now it doesn't make any descriptions about facing direction. Right? There's nothing about, if I'm fighting, engaging someone, and my vision is facing someone off to the northwest, and this hobgoblin runs by me from the southeast, how will I have the innate ability to know this person is going by and turn and take a swing at him? And when I do that, will it provoke an attack of opportunity on my original target? Probably not. So reach will probably be a key thing to define, to look up about with this. So you lash out the foe, leaving an opening, make a melee strike against a triggering creature. That means you get a free swing, a free attack. If your attack is a critical hit and the trigger was a manipulate action, we'll have to define what a manipulate action is. I'm assuming that means like using a scroll or maybe drinking a potion or doing something like that or loading a bow. You disrupt that action. So say the hobgoblin was running past you or was standing next to you and decides to pull out a scroll and starts casting invisibility or something like that. You know, they can do that innately anyway. Then you can like go bam and just whack them real quick and stop them from doing, interrupt that action. So they're using an action of their 3-action economy. You automatically disrupt it when you're a fighter. That's fantastic. The strike doesn't count towards your multiple attack penalty. So you could be in a situation where that strike, I believe the first strike costs nothing, the second strike is -5, the third strike is -10. So there's no multiple attack or map penalty for doing it. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty neat. It's been around for a long time. They used to have abilities called Cleave in the 3.0 that did similar things. You kill one person, you automatically start whacking the next person. Maybe that's still in here. So that's what's going on with that one. So reverse engineering this class feature, we see this attack of opportunity. All right, so now let's go into armor class. So we see down here on the defenses, hit points 20, cool, fortitude, reflex, and will. And then we have armor class and armor class with shield. A good way to figure that out, because remember the AC numbers are completely different. I remember a lot of my people that like to hang on the channel are AD&D players. It's not AC2, -10 to 10 anymore. Let's go take a look at armor. So this person has chosen to wear a breastplate. So they're just wearing what's called, and even in the picture, it's kind of like a traditional historical breastplate, a little bit of chain underneath it. There's nothing, there's no elbow guards, there's no plate boots, there's no plate leggings, it's not full plate mail, it's just a plate. It's like something a conquistador would have used while they were destroying a magnificent Mesoamerican cultures, damn them. So what does that give you? Well, if you look at the table in the armor section for a breastplate, this is it right here, right? And we'll get rid of the search window. Oh, come on, we can do it. I love this mouse. I hate it. I'll just unhighlight. You see it now, right? So it's got an AC bonus of +4, has a dex cap of +1. So you'll need to read the section about the dex cap. That's right down here. This number is the maximum amount of your dexterity modifier can apply to your AC while you're wearing this type of armor. So Valeros' dexterity is 14. He has a +2 modifier. This has a dex cap of +1. So this is the maximum amount of AC bonus he could get from his dexterity due to wearing the breastplate. If I'm understanding that correctly, that means he can only get +1 from his dexterity, right? The dexterity cap. Number is the maximum amount your dexterity modifier can apply to your armor class while you're wearing a given suit of armor. For example, if you have dexterity modifier 4 and you're wearing a suit of half plate, you apply only +1 bonus to your dexterity modifier to AC while wearing that armor. That makes sense. You're wearing a breastplate, it's kind of more cumbersome. You're not as much of your dexterity is going to be helping you out as much as a dex cap number of 1. That means that Valeros' +2 modifier is really going to act as only +1. Okay, now remember that because there's something about this character I want to talk about. So you get a bonus of +1. Now armor class. How is armor class created in the first place? Well, it starts with 10. Hello, my producer pup is here. Armor class always starts at 10. So there's no one running around armor class. Now, in AD&D, armor class 10, and you had nothing on, you wearing a robe, you're just running around with slippers on or some crap, right? Armor class 10 is where you start. A lot of things in the game, you start with 10 and all your ability scores, etc. You heard me say that before. Your dex modifier up to the armor's dex cap, which we just talked about, plus your proficiency bonus, plus the armor's item bonus to AC, plus other bonuses and penalties. Okay, let's see if we can figure this out. So we've got the breastplate. That gives us 4. We were level 1, right? That gives us 1 more. That gives us 5. So we're starting off right off the bat, level 1 character, wearing a breastplate, no matter what class you are, 5 armor class, plus a 10, 15, okay? And that's going to get us to 15. We're getting 3 more in here. Now, how are we getting the 3 more numbers? We're getting 1 from the dex. That would be 16. So there's 2 more digits in here that are coming from somewhere. I bet you that is going to be because of the class having some kind of training. So let's take a look here. Is there anything in here? Trained in all armor. So trained is plus 2. So that's where the other number comes from. So now you can see how it's all added up. And once you build like 4 or 5 characters, you'll get really fast at this. And you'll actually remember how to manipulate things. So let's go over that one more time, right? So we had breastplate plus 4. You start off with 10, like you see highlighted over here. So that's 14, right? Your level 1, that's 15. You can't apply all your dexterity bonus, so you only add 1. That's 16. And you are a class that gets to have trained in all armor. That gives you plus 2. I did it, yay. So that's how you figure it out. Now, armor class with a raised shield, having the shield is an action. Now, you got to say you're raising your shield, like it's like basically saying I'm going to try to defend myself by raising my shield. You can attack with the shield. I do believe that. I believe there's a section in that part of the game as well that describes that in detail, like attacking with a shield. Here it is in the shield section. Shield can be used as a martial weapon for attack purposes. There is an action you can take in the game where you raise your shield. When you do raise your shield, it gives you an AC bonus. You see this right down here, right? The shield grants a circumstance bonus, not circumcision, but circumstance bonus, right? So circumstance bonus is kind of like, there's another name for this in all the other games. I like the fact that circumstance, because under the circumstances, because of what you just did, you get a bonus to your armor class, right? So that means if you do the action of raise your shield, Valeros gets to boost his armor class really quickly here. Now, it would be very interesting to see, I'm in combat, I'm standing still, someone runs up to me, comes in range, I'm ready to fight, I've got my shield up, I got my longsword in my hand, they get their chance to go. I haven't even stated whether I'm raising my shield or not. They start attacking me. Is that where things like Reactive Shield come into play and deflect that 6 damage or less number away from you so you don't take any damage from the kobold trying to hit you with his bink pin, with his bic pen or his graphite pencil or whatever it is he's using, or his little dagger? Like, the little dagger is not going to ever do enough damage to blow past your shield with your reactive shield ability. Your shield block, you'll be able to do that at demand. So, there's a lot of cool tactical things going on here. I would almost venture to say, and say turn some people off, I like a lot of old school war games. I played Squad Leader and Panzer Leader, and I love Hail Caesar. I would almost venture to say that there is a level of wargaming to the tactical level of combat in Pathfinder Second Edition that is absolutely brilliant to me personally. When we were little kids growing up playing AD&D, there was all kinds of complex rules that we just never used. And if you watched any of my AD&D shows, you're like, no, we're not using weapon speed, just forget all that. But in this situation, because there's feats, and you're making interesting character choices about how your character is equipped, what kind of shield do you got? Do you have a shield boss on your shield? This character here is going to be running around, not with a two-handed weapon, with a sword and a shield, doing things on the battlefield to stay alive, to make sure when those 20 hit points last as long as humanly possible. That's really, really cool. I can almost see they're like an offensive, tanky type of a character. So I love it. I think it's great. Let's go over real quickly a couple more ththings, and we'll wrap this video up. I'm going to skip the skill section of the character. What you can find is if you start going through all the different skills, you'll see with some of the ancestries and stuff like that, where they picked up some of these additional trained skills. The skill thing takes a whole video in of itself, and I'm getting kind of long on this one. So the one thing about these character sheets you'll find is really interesting is they have copied and pasted the effects I've been searching in the rulebook for you. So the raise shield and the shield block. So if you were playing and you had this right on your screen in front of you, that would be awesome. You wouldn't have to look in the book anymore. You come to the table with your pre-printed character sheet. In fact, you would just do this, right? Let's go back and look at this real quick. You come to your game with your pre-printed character sheet, front and back, and there's everything you need as a rule book for you. And so, in fact, where's that walking wave of destruction girl? Where is she in here? Kira's awesome. I love her artwork. Okay, this Sione girl, however you pronounce her name. Evil blood mage type girl, whatever she is, says sorcerer, nomad, background, trained, blah, blah, lawful neutral. That sounds interesting. So on the back of her character sheet, all of her spells are listed, like copied and pasted all the way from the book. These are fantastic. I'm so glad that the community use package PF2E, whatever it is, lawsuit condition contract, came out, that these people released these things on July the 26th. So you can actually read through these things and have all the information right there. You don't need to go flipping through the rule book. You don't need to be looking at your iPad or flipping through your laptop or looking on your phone to find out what you need to know. All right, let's turn that camera off because we're not drawing any cool sketches today. So we'll put the player panel back on and we'll turn this off. There we go. So those things are really, 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 really useful. All right. What else do we get over? Let's go over the saving throws real quick. That's what I said I was going to do, right? Let's get rid of this. Let's put trash on there. You can trash it, gets rid of your highlighting. So fighter, let's go back. Do we get some stuff that affects our saving throws? Yes, you do. On the right-hand frame, right off the bat, you get initial proficiencies. You're going to get all kinds of stuff. You're expert in perception, saving throws, expert in fortitude, expert in reflex, trained at will. So you got two things to consider here when it comes to, you got the proficiency bonus. Remember, it's always going to apply to those kinds of things. And you also got your ability score is going to affect it. So let's look at Valeros, right? For a fortitude save, right, which is constitution. Does he have enough constitution to give a modifier? Yes, he does. He has +2. He's level 1. That's +3. Where's the other 4 coming from? Guess what? It's coming from this. He's an expert. So remember, untrained 0, trained +2, expert +4. So very quickly you can see the saving throws are much easier to figure out. It's not just, and as he gets higher in level, and then one day if he applies some ability score points and he ranks up on his ability scores later on, his fortitude saves got +7. That's pretty good. If you're rolling a d20, you roll a 10, that's a 17. So reflex, the same kind of thing. He is, in fact, let's do it this way. Let's just highlight the, let's get rid of this first of all. Saving throws. Here you go. Expert in reflex saves. Well, that makes sense. You're a warrior. You're a fighter. You got this plate mail armor on. You got a sword and a shield. You're a gruff. You're a battle-hardened person. You're used to doing melee attacks. You had to do training. You used to have to run laps. All kinds of business. You know how to kill. You know how to fight in the battlefield. You're rough and tough around the edges. Things that challenge your fortitude, which is your constitution. Things that challenge your dexterity, your ability to move, even wearing armor. You're going to be an expert at that right off the bat at level 1. You are a warrior. You're not a caster. You're not a bard or something like that. So now the AC with the shield raised, right below that you see the willpower save or will save, which is something that is based on your wisdom. Well, this Valeros guy doesn't have really high wisdom. It's just the base 10 that he started off with. But when you look at the fighter, right, trained in will. So the base number should have been a 10, but he gets +3. Now where's the +3 come from? This is one that makes it very tricky. Almost everything in a game that's going to be a level 1 character and you're trained in it, it's going to be 3 because you're level 1 plus the 2. So nothing really ever starts off at 2. Now, maybe later on in some other skills, you're like level 10 and you just do a check on something that says just your skill level of the particular skill with nothing to do with your level, like it doesn't get to use your proficiency bonus. Maybe that's where things will be a little bit different. But that's quite interesting, and that worked out pretty straightforward. That's not confusing to anyone. So in summary, there was a lot of things I learned, even just going through this. I went through this a couple times before I did the video, and even along the way, you could see even me trying to go through this stuff because I'm not an expert. But it's a really cool way to learn how these characters are built because this is a pretty tight character. It's got a really cool theme. It's really well put together. The fact that it has all the information, like assurance is described right here. I could have just looked here and read it, but I wanted to go through the action of myself, not 2 actions, the 1 action of trying to figure out that where is assurance. Oh, okay. It was a skill feat. I didn't even know that until I did the video, right? So I hope that you can get the same kind of discoveries for yourself when you're going through the Core Rulebook and as you learn more and more about it, because there's a lot of people on the Facebook and a lot of people in the forums that know a ton of stuff and they're all interpreting the rules. And if you're coming from another game, you're going to be lost. You're going to be in these conversations where people talk about stuff and you don't know what the devil they're talking about. And the worst thing you want to have happen to you with a cool new game like this is be like, it's too complicated. I don't even want to try to learn it because it's not that hard. Use your PDF and just play a little detective and teach yourself one thing at a time on the character sheet. I would actually profess to say this. you are eventually going to probably find your favorite kind of ancestry that you like to use for your melee characters. You're going to eventually find your favorite type of background you like to use for melee characters. You're going to understand which type of heritage, ancestry, or which race you like to use. You're eventually going to understand the perception bonus and be able to do it really, really quickly. Alignment's kind of up to you. You're going to understand these ability modifiers like the back of your hand. They're not that big of a deal. They've been around forever. The fact that you build the character and have to know what to keep raising the different abilities along the way, that's kind of tricky. There's a great guide in the beginning of the book that talks you through how to build a character and start building it every step by step, right? We've seen this before. If you've got the book and you started reading it, you started reading through this already. Where is this section at? Here it is, the whole step-by-step guide for filling out the character sheet. The character sheets they have are complicated. I actually really like these. In fact, I'm probably going to take this character sheet right here and clear it out and make it empty and use one for myself that it's cool, and I will actually copy and paste my own stuff here for the videos for the Black Ship of the Sunless. That'll be really fun. I can't wait to do that. But first I got to learn all the rules. So we'll probably do another video about the skill section. There's elements to why some of these skills are higher than others, especially with some of the intelligence numbers. There are +4 across the board here. They're related to the ancestry and the class and things like that. We'll leave the skill out for this video, but I hope it was helpful for you. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. And I'm just going to keep going through the rules and try to learn the rules and try to share ways that may help you figure stuff out on your own, because not everyone has time to just read the book front and back. There's no way you're going to read the whole book front and back and go, I got it. You're going to have to go in there and try and do things. You have to do those repetitions. You're going to have to go in there and read the rules. Even I have yet to run a single combat scenario here at the house because I'm still trying to make sure I get a handle on all these synergies and idiosyncrasies that are going to connect everything. And it is complex, but what I'm seeing as I'm discovering everything is really, really, really cool. And I see a situation very soon where combat's going to flow really, really quickly. People are going to come to the table with the character sheets with all that cool information already on hand, and the players will be telling the game master, like, hey, I'm going to do this because I got this feat. And the game masters go, hey, that sounds awesome. Go for it. I didn't realize that was giving you a bonus of +2. It's not going to be like the old days where the game master is like, oh, I'm not going to allow you to do that. The players are going to be able to come to the table with a tactical, cool toolkit to throw at different situations. The game masters have to say, sure, go for it. It's not going to be as much of a situation where the game masters have to constantly winging everything to try to figure out how to balance the combat. So the fact they've equipped the player is taking some of that combat burden off the game master, in my opinion. That means the game master can focus more on story, narrative, entertainment, encounter economy, and counterbalance, all those kinds of things that make the game really memorable and fun for everyone. All right, that's the end of the dissertation for the day. Hope you had fun watching the video, and if you got any questions or comments, ask. I always try to reply and talk to people. I don't care what you say. Be good, bad, or positive. It's all good feedback. You never get better at what you're doing until you can take feedback on board from people. So let me know, and we'll talk to you later. Take it easy, dude. See ya.